Good afternoon. I'm Mark Allen with Gaper.io, and I'm here today with Oscar Adelman, the CEO of Remy. Good afternoon, Oscar.
Hi, Mark. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining us today. So can you start with a brief background of yourself and your work experience?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm currently at Remy. Prior to Remy, I was working for a VC fund called Sinai Ventures, $100 million under management. I was there for a little over 2 years. We did 80 investments over that time. And I focused on the consumer brands, which makes sense how I found my way to a direct-to-consumer startup here afterwards. And prior to that, I was working for BMW on their corporate venture capital team.
Wow.
So if you want to talk about mobility, you want to talk about cars, I'm your guy.
Cool. I didn't even know BMW had a venture team, but it makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, every big company, Fortune 50, that's serious about R&D, isn't just looking at building, and they're looking at investing now.
And where was that out of? What city?
Mountain View.
Oh,
heart of Silicon Valley. Yes, I worked in the New York office briefly as well, but the main action was happening here. It's hard to beat the Valley when you're looking at startups.
If I remember right, there's another company that started in Mountain View that did okay, right? What's that name?
There's a few.
Google.
There's a few. Yes. Yeah.
Interesting. So what has been your experience with remote employment, both as an employer and employee?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it was so Sinai Ventures is a small team. There was only 5 of us, and we were split between New York, LA, and Palo Alto. And I was based in Palo Alto, and found much of the time I was there by myself, but all of the time we were working together. So it wasn't as popular back then as it is today to spend most of your day on Zoom, but that's what we were doing. And every investment committee meeting was remote, and all of the pitches that we did, the company would come into one of those 3 offices, and the other 2 offices would join via Zoom. And so now with COVID-19, I had gotten used to being around the team and having everybody in the office at Remy, and it feels a little bit like going back to those days. I'm used to it. And there's certainly some great pros to doing it that way, but it's also nice to have folks around you in the office sometimes.
It is. And does Remy do development out of the Bay Area, or do you do it elsewhere?
So our engineers are offshore, and we have an amazing, my co-founder, Yana, is an amazing head of product, and she spent several years at Estee Lauder. She managed overseas teams of engineers. So she was really perfect for this. She stepped right into it, and we haven't had any issues. It's been very easy, but I'm glad that I'm not doing it, and I'm glad she's doing it.
And is she in the Bay Area?
She is, yes.
Cool. So what do you think is the future of remote employment, and what do you think can be done differently to make it more effective?
Yeah, gosh, I think it comes down more not to the technology, but to the way that work is organized. It's thinking about, do you really need to have that all hands call, right? It's difficult to do an all hands call when you have a team of 25 folks. It ends up being that 1 or 2 people speak most of the time.
Right.
Can you divide it out into smaller meetings? How do you really get the creative juices flowing where everybody feels like they can chime in? And in person, it's easy because they stand up a little bit in their chair. They make it obvious they're about to speak. But when everybody's on Zoom, it's less obvious. The other thing is video is huge. Frankly, when we started doing our remote investment committee calls at Sinai Ventures a few years ago, we weren't doing Zoom, we weren't doing video. We'd all just jump onto, I guess an Uber conference line or something like that. And when we started doing video, it really made the conversations more valuable and engaging, because body language and sort of what you express on your face is almost as important as what you're saying.
Yeah, no, I agree with you 100%. So what is the story behind Remy? What's your product? Who do you sell to? All those things.
Yeah. So I have, I've been a teeth grinder for about 10 years now.
Hmm.
One morning I woke up and I'd lost, I guess, my fifth or sixth night guard at that point. I've been lucky in that I've been able to go out and get new ones, but these things, they cost like $500 or $600 from the dentist. And they're really just a little piece of plastic you put in your mouth.
Hmm.
Excuse me for sort of the overused lingo here, but I thought there's got to be a better way.
Hmm.
And I started looking into the space and talked to a bunch of folks, dentists from all over the country, the fabrication labs who they were using, other, folks in related spaces, and realized there's no reason that you need to be charging folks $500 for this piece of plastic. But the only alternative to that at the time was to go to your drugstore, Walmart, CVS, and buy something over the counter. The over the counter product is dramatically inferior.
Hmm.
And so, we've seen this story play out before. We realized there was an opportunity to cut out the middleman and to create a consumer-facing brand that really focused on the consumer experience, right? Not just on affordability, but on convenience, on customer support. It was through the business model innovation we were able to innovate on the product itself, make it thinner because we can sell it to you on a subscription basis. You don't have to keep coming back to the dentist's office to get a new one.
Hmm.
And then with our second product line, which we just launched on Monday, teeth whitening, it was a natural progression for us.
Hmm.
All of the systems are same, right? It's a similar industry where you go to your dentist to get a custom teeth whitening kit, and that's $400 or $500. Or you can go to CVS and get Crest whitening strips.
Yeah.
And we thought, why don't we make the dentist grade options affordable like the Crest whitening strips are?
Hmm.
If you cut out the middleman in these two cases with night guards and teeth whitening trays, the middleman can be cut out fairly easily. This week has, if it's proved anything thus far, Mark, it's proved that teeth whitening may be even more popular than night guards. So it's been an exciting week for us so far.
And when you say the middleman, do you mean the dentist?
Yes.
Okay. Just clarifying on that one.
And the fabrication lab who the dentist uses. So
Okay.
most dentists, 95+%, will outsource the creation of either the custom night guards or the custom whitening trays to a third-party manufacturer. And you walk in, you take the impression, they drop it into an envelope, send it off to the lab, comes back, you pick it up at reception. For us, we were able to cut out both the dentist stop and the fabrication lab stop. Cut out the crazy, 700% markup that's there, and provide the same exact thing to our customers, but at a reasonable price point.
Very interesting. So how did you incorporate the idea of remote working at your company? I mean, obviously, I'm assuming you have a manufacturing plant. Is that correct?
Yes. It's funny. It's been a big area of discussion for us at Remy. Because initially we wanted to set up the manufacturing all here in San Francisco, where Jan and I could oversee everything. In the early days, it's really important to make sure that quality over anything else. And so we had our eyes on every item that was leaving the office. And obviously with shelter in place, we couldn't do that. So we had to scramble, and we've come up with some creative options here. And we had to set up a remote lab where our dental technicians can come in and do it in shifts and individually. And we added extra layers of sanitization and some of it frankly has delayed our ability to get this out to customers as quickly as possible. But folks have been understanding. And part of remote work isn't just thinking about how does it affect folks who sit at the desk all day, right, like me, but also how does it affect everybody at the company? In this case, there was a lot of work that went into it, but I think there's very few positions out there that truly cannot go remote in some way.
Yeah, I think we're learning about that more and more every week. Wouldn't you agree?
We have to. We have no choice.
Yeah. And just out of curiosity, how did you come up with the name Remy?
Yeah. Oh gosh. We were thinking a lot about remedy. And we were thinking a lot about REM sleep. And it was just sort of a natural progression from those two words. We wanted to pick something that had a little bit of character to it. I think we found a happy medium.
Kind of like Siri and Alexa, it's got that same, because Remy is a a female name and a male name, actually, for that matter.
It's sort of gender neutral. It's
Mhm.
relatively easy to spell, pronounce. It's only 4 letters. It has a little bit of pep and personality to it, right? It can be what you want it to be.
Mhm.
But I hope that when people hear it, it starts to be associated with remedy and with REM sleep and with sort of positive wellness attributes.
Okay. And I don't grind my teeth, so I don't know. But if you grind your teeth, does that hurt your REM sleep?
Yeah, it's very disruptive to your sleep. It's very disruptive to your health.
Mm.
It depends on how severe you grind your teeth. But at the more severe end of the spectrum, and by the way, I should say that while you don't grind your teeth, 1 in 5 adults do.
Oh.
And for those who are most severe, it can cause chips in your teeth. It can wear the enamel down. Some really painful jaw movement. It causes a lot of pain. It's a real pain point. That's why sort of when I thought there's got to be a better way here.
Yeah.
It wasn't sort of within 100 ideas and I picked one. It was something that actually affected me, and it affects tens of millions of adult Americans every day.
Well,
You wake up with that pain in the morning, and if you grind your teeth or not. The whitening is great because 5 out of 5 adults have teeth who they would be whiter.
this is true. I do have a sister that grinds her teeth, so I will be calling her tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll set you up. We'll give you a promo code. How's Mark 25% off for your sister and anybody else who's watching as well.
All right, that sounds good. I'll send it out to my network. That sounds great. So interestingly, we've talked about the pandemic a little, and that caused a lot. I mean, not a lot of companies, almost every company to go remote.
Mm-hmm.
And in the Bay Area, it was on March 16th. You didn't have a choice. It sounds like you did experience some challenges that you weren't expecting. Were there any others that you can share with us?
Yeah, gosh. The biggest loss for us has been, the biggest challenge has been sort of the serendipity, those little moments that happen when you share a physical space.
Mm-hmm.
Something that you mention over lunch, right? Or I might overhear a phone call in the other room and say, oh, had you thought about this?
Mm-hmm.
Even just sort of, it's hard to describe, but even just sort of like interacting more freely where, I can lean my head around my monitor and talk to somebody else means that I can share an idea that's probably so small or so early in the idea development stage that it's not worth a Slack message.
Mm-hmm.
But it only takes 2 seconds to share with somebody else. On the flip side, of course, the remote work means that we can all concentrate more. In part because people don't have me leaning over my monitor telling them something. Everybody can concentrate and put their stuff on do not disturb and really focus on a project for an hour straight. That's more difficult to do when you're sharing an office. It's very hard to do when you have an open floor plan office. I think those are going to be the way of the past soon.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you said, there was no choice.
Right.
So we've learned how to adapt to it and enjoy the benefits and make the best of even the cons.
Yeah, actually, for the 2 reasons you just stated, my personal opinion is once this has settled down, the typical workplace is going to be a hybrid. You're going to work 2 or 3 days from home and 2 or 3 days from the office.
Yeah, it's hard to imagine somebody, an executive or a manager trying to make the argument that isn't okay.
Yeah.
You spent 3, 4, 5, 6 months doing it completely remote. To come back into the office and say, hey, I want to work from home on Friday.
Mm-hmm.
How is any manager going to try to make the case that, that hurts productivity or that's not possible or this or that? You just point to the last 6 months.
Mm-hmm. Right. And the other point you were making about the intangibles, I think people still want that.
Yeah. And so maybe it's not that everybody's in the office every day. Maybe it's not even the office at all.
Right.
Maybe Remy has a culture going forward where, we work at home in the mornings and we meet up for lunch and we work together in the afternoons. There's,
I think,
yeah. No, I was going to say, when you have the flexibility to sort of rethink the office culture,
mm-hmm.
You can test stuff like that.
Yes, and I think each company will have its own culture, how they handle that. I spoke to a company last week, was kind of interesting. They were in the travel industry, and they were all remote. And what happened organically, and this surprised the CEO, people without any prodding would just fly and meet each other in different cities because it was free.
Yeah, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Just to have that human interaction.
And it's nice to put a face to the name, right?
Yeah.
I mean, even a human sort of in the same room face is different than us on Zoom here right now.
Yeah. Maybe we should meet afterwards, after everything settles down, since we are pretty close to each other.
We're both in San Francisco. I'm all for it.
Sounds good. So last but not least, there's companies like Gabriel that help build, develop products for startups like yourself. How important do you think that is going to be going forward, for CEOs that need to build products quickly and they need the right talent? That's the big thing.
Huge. I may be a direct-to-consumer founder, but I'm still very much involved with the back and forth between VCs.
Mm-hmm.
And I will say that the VCs, especially here in the Bay Area, the future of work, remote work, how to hire remotely, this is like the number one thing that they're talking about every day.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this is going to be huge. It'll impact startups like Remy.
Mm-hmm.
It'll impact big companies like Google and Facebook.
Yeah, I actually have a friend who started interviewing at Apple right after the shutdown, and she did 12 interviews via Zoom.
Wow.
And she was hired, and she starts June 1st, and she has never met the people she's working for.
And she's going to become great at her new job over the course of the next few months. And she's going to come into the office and she'll know everybody's names.
Mm-hmm.
And she'll be an all-star at what she's doing, but she'll have to ask, hey, where's the bathroom?
Yeah.
What's the best place for lunch around here? Yeah.
What's the least traffic?
Exactly.
So, well, Oscar, I want to thank you for your time today. This has been very enlightening.
Thank you.
We'll meet each other after this once they let us get out a little more. Although I have golfed recently. I was out golfing yesterday. So maybe that's a place we can meet and still social distance.
Golf is a wonderful sport for social distancing. And by the very nature of it, you ought to be at least a club length away from everybody.
Yes. And if we all hit it straight, but as you know, especially as amateurs, we don't do that.
Not with me. That won't happen with me, I promise.
All right. Well, thanks again and have a great day.
Thank you, Mark.
All right. Bye.